On the day of my coming-of-age ceremony, my fiancé Lu Jie came to break off our engagement, bringing the jade pendant that symbolized our love. In front of all the distinguished guests at my home, he said the one he had always wanted to marry was my cousin Shen Wanqing. Just as I was about to question him, a few lines of bullet comments floated before my eyes. This is hilarious. How can the female supporting character even compare to Wanqing? She agreed to break off the engagement on her own. She should stop digging her own grave. The show is about to begin. Can't wait to see the female supporting character crying and making a scene, only to end up abandoned by everyone. Exactly. The female supporting character's parents treat our Wanqing baby like their own daughter, and the female supporting character's brother, with his restrained yet profound love, willingly let go for Wanqing's happiness. It's just too heart-fluttering. Watching the barrage of deeply malicious comments aimed at me, I decisively took back the token of love jade pendant from Lu Jie. My voice was cold and calm. Fine, I agree to break off the engagement, because, just moments ago, I had been reborn. Hello, everyone, welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now, the story begins. Why did the female supporting character take back the jade pendant? Shouldn't she be questioning Lu Jie? Forcing Wanqing to kneel and apologize, then getting slapped hard by Shen's parents, and finally being kicked out by her brother Shen Juquan. Why has the plot changed? No idea. What should we do next? This stupid female supporting character is messing with the plot. Seeing this comment, my heart tightened sharply. Yes. In my past life, I did experience all of that. I took a deep breath, trying hard to stay calm. Those bullet comments seemed to foresee the future. And I had already experienced that pain once before. In my past life, when Lu Jie proposed to break off our engagement, I lost control of my emotions and hysterically questioned him about why he had betrayed me. Lu Jie and I were childhood sweethearts who grew up together. From as far back as I can remember, I knew that I was destined to marry him someday. I always loved following him around. I still remember that one lantern festival when we were 6, sneaking out together to have fun. He walked too fast for me to keep up, and later I got lost in the crowd. I sat alone, miserable and crying under the bridge arch. It was Lu Jie who searched for half the night before finally finding me. He flusteredly wiped away my tears with a handkerchief, comforting me softly, saying he would never leave me alone again. At that time, he was only 9 years old too. He carried me on his back and walked half the city of Chang'an before we made it home. When we arrived, my father wanted to punish me with the family discipline for being so playful, but Lu Jie took all the blame for me. He said he was the one who forced me to go out, and that I hadn't wanted to. I later heard that General Lu had him beaten with 30 military rods. He lay in bed for 3 months, covered in blood, before he could barely manage to get up. Back then, I secretly went to see him. He tried to get up from the bed, but grimaced in pain from the movement, and had no choice but to lie back down. He reached out and patted my head. Big brother isn't in pain. As long as Zhao Zhao is safe and sound, it is only natural to protect Zhao Zhao, because brother will be Zhao Zhao's husband in the future. Back then, as a child, I didn't have much feeling about the term husband. I only knew it meant someone to spend a lifetime with. I nodded firmly. I like brother Jie and want to be with him forever. After I said this, I saw the young man who never cried out in pain even after 30 military canings quietly blush. Those were truly wonderful days. Although my parents weren't particularly affectionate, they never treated me harshly, and my older brother always brought me snacks whenever he went out. Most importantly, Lu Jie was always by my side. When did everything start to change? Shen Wanqing is my mother's distant niece. After losing both her parents and having nowhere to go, she was taken in and raised by our family. She was delicate in appearance, spoke in a soft voice, and her eyes were always glistening, as if on the verge of tears at any moment. At first, I held no hostility toward her. I even sympathized with her plight and took care of her as if she were my own sister. But gradually, I noticed that all the family's attention was focused on her, especially my mother's. That woman who was always indifferent to me seemed to have suddenly been inspired by Shen Wanqing to show maternal love. All the good things were for Shen Wanqing, and whenever something went wrong, it was always my fault. Zhao Zhao, you're the older sister, you should give in to your younger sister. How can you be so unreasonable? I gave birth to you for nothing. This matter is your fault, and you still try to push the blame onto your sister. How can you be so malicious at such a young age? My brother was the same. He gave all the snacks and gifts that should have been for me to Shen Wanqing. He would stay up all night reading with her just because she said she was afraid of the dark, and even on my birthday, he was late because he accompanied her to the temple to pray for blessings. Alright, Zhao Zhao, You celebrate your birthday every year. What does it matter if I'm a little late? Is your birthday more important than Wanqing's safety? That was for Wanqing, as the older sister. You shouldn't fight with your younger sister for things. If Wanqing likes it, let her have it first. Although I was upset, I told Lu Jie about these matters. Lu Jie was initially very angry when he heard, but after he saw my cousin dancing gracefully among the flowers, his attitude changed. Your cousin Wanqing in the late Qing dynasty is so pitiful, living under someone else's roof all alone. You should take better care of her instead of worrying that she might compete with you for your mother and brother's affection. You're really being so immature. Zhao Zhao, Shen Zhao Zhao, how could you push Wanqing into the water just out of jealousy? I misjudged you. You are utterly malicious. I desperately defended myself. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. She really jumped in by herself. Enough. Lu Jie's gaze was fierce and terrifying. If there's a next time, I will not let it go unpunished. I was startled by him, but I never imagined he would betray our engagement. Until today, at the coming-of-age ceremony, in front of all the guests, he handed back the token of love jade pendant to me, his voice cold. Zhao Zhao, the one I've always wanted to marry is Wanqing. My cousin Shen Wanqing stood by, shedding pitiful tears as if she had suffered a great injustice. In my rage, I pushed her, and she fell to her knees, weeping with a rain-soaked pear blossom beauty. My parents, seeing this, slapped me without asking for an explanation, scolding me for being ungrateful and bullying even my own cousin. My brother Shen Juquan, his eyes red with distress, helped my cousin up and furiously told me to get out. That night, I was left wandering the streets, my heart as cold as ashes. Finally dragged into an alley by a beggar, I fought desperately, but in the end, I was still violated and killed, my body thrown into the river. Unable to rest in peace even after death. Meanwhile, my family was accompanying Shen Wanqing, selecting the dowry she would bring for her marriage, wanting her to marry into the Lu family with great splendor. Now that I have a second chance, I will never repeat the same mistakes. Since young Master Lu has someone in his heart, I won't force the matter, I said calmly, tucking the jade pendant into my sleeve. I wish the two of you a harmonious union lasting 100 years, Lu Jie frowned. Clearly not expecting me to be so straightforward, without even a word of questioning, he opened his mouth as if to say something, but was gently pulled back by Shen Wanqing, who tugged at his sleeve. Sister, Shen Wanqing's eyes were slightly red, her voice soft as water. It's all my fault for causing you and Jie to be apart. You must resent me, right? But I truly love Jie. In the next life, I'll repay your kindness even if it means serving as your ox or horse. I looked at her pitiful face. Just like in my past life, when a few words from her had turned me into the target of everyone's criticism. But this time, I won't give her another chance. Why would you say that, Wanqing? I smiled gently, my tone soft. Matters of the heart cannot be forced. Since young Master Lu is fond of you, I naturally give you my blessings. I couldn't bear to see you suffer for me. Come now, don't cry. It's just that today is my coming-of-age ceremony even if you two are in love. There was no need to bring it up today. I held back my emotions and said, forget it, little sister, I don't blame you. Use a handkerchief to wipe your tears, don't ruin your makeup. Shen Wanqing was taken aback, clearly not expecting me to react this way, and for a moment she didn't know how to respond. The barrage exploded instantly. The female lead isn't following the script anymore. Shouldn't she be going crazy and pushing Wanqing down? She's actually feeling sorry for Wanqing now. Oh no, the plot's falling apart. Don't you think the male and female leads are so pretentious? They deliberately chose someone else's coming-of-age ceremony to pull this stunt. It's just pure spite. The supporting female character is really being quite magnanimous. What are you talking about upstairs? What does this have to do with our Wanqing? There's nothing wrong with the male lead wanting to give Wanqing a proper status. I watched the differing opinions in the bullet comments, thinking to myself that there are still a few sensible people in the chat. As expected, the moment I deliberately mentioned the coming-of-age ceremony, the guests' gazes toward Lu Jie instantly turned subtle. This young Master Lu is truly inconsiderate in his actions, isn't that so? The coming-of-age ceremony is so important for a woman, and he chose this day to break off the engagement. I think it's most likely Shen Wanqing who instigated this. Shen Wanqing's face turned pale, tears welling up in her eyes in an instant, as she timidly hid behind Lu Jie. Damn, the female antagonist is so manipulative, deliberately steering public opinion. Don't be afraid, Wanqing baby, we support you. Wait, don't you think the female antagonist has a point? And isn't the female lead also manipulating public opinion to pressure her? I can't even interact with you bullet comments who have such twisted values anymore. Lu Jie noticed the strange looks around him. His face darkening as he said coldly, Shen Jiaojiao, what do you mean by this? I feigned surprise and looked up. Why do you say that, young Master Lu? Am I not speaking the truth? He choked, momentarily at a loss for a rebuttal. Shen Juquan stepped forward with a frown, his tone displeased. Jiaojiao, today's events are already ugly enough. Why must you add fuel to the fire? I looked at him with a hint of mockery in my eyes. Brother thinks I'm exaggerating, he faltered. As if stung by my gaze, and instinctively averted his eyes, seeing my brother at a disadvantage. Mother was about to scold me, but father stopped her. Shen Wanqing, noticing the situation, quickly stepped forward, her voice choked with emotion. Sister, it's all my fault. If you want to blame someone, blame me. Don't take it out on Brother Jie and Brother Juquan. She spoke, and was about to kneel before me. In my past life, it was like this, with one kneel and a few tears. I became the villainess in everyone's eyes, but this time, I quickly reached out to support her, my tone gentle yet firm. What are you doing, Wanqing? I've already said that we are as close as sisters. How could I possibly blame you? If you kneel like this, wouldn't that make me a person who goes back on their word? She froze, unsure whether to kneel or stand, and could only stare at me with reddened eyes. The barrage of comments flooded the screen. The supporting female character suddenly leveled up. Late Qing baby, fight back quickly. I smiled faintly and continued, but sister, when you're with young Master Lu in the future, you must be careful. After all, I glanced meaningfully at Lu Jie, someone who can easily abandon a marriage engagement. Who knows if there might be a next time? Lu Jie flew into a rage. Shen Jiaojiao, you, Master Lu. Father finally couldn't help but interrupt, his face darkening. Today is my daughter's coming-of-age ceremony. I must ask you to show some self-restraint. My father values face above all else. In my previous life, my hysterical questioning made a spectacle in front of the guests, so he deemed me worthless and abandoned me, turning instead to foster Shen Wanqing for a marriage alliance. In this life, I haven't lost my composure in the slightest. Instead, I've been graceful and poised. Now he has to re-evaluate my worth. Lu Jie gritted his teeth but ultimately said nothing more. With a satisfied look, I withdrew my gaze, turned to the full assembly of guests, and gave a graceful bow. I apologize for the spectacle today. The banquet is ready. Please proceed to the front hall. The guests rose one after another, casting peculiar glances at Lu Jie and Shen Wanqing before leaving. It's over. The male and female leads' reputations are ruined. Changed it to a strong female lead story. I'm suddenly a bit looking forward to what comes next. I lowered my gaze to hide the coldness in my eyes. This is only the beginning. The pain you inflicted on me in my past life, in this life, I will repay 100-fold. In my previous life, I died, and since Lu Jie had feelings for Shen Wanqing, the marriage alliance between the Shen and Lu families naturally fell to Shen Wanqing. But in this life, I am still alive. How could General Lu abandon me, the legitimate daughter, and turn to Shen Wanqing, an orphan who lost both parents and merely resides with the Shen family? General Lu probably doesn't know yet that Lu Jie came alone to break off the engagement. Early the next morning, just as I finished washing up, the maid hurried in to report, Miss, the master asks you to come to the main hall at once. He says the Lu family has arrived. My heart skipped a beat. So soon? I changed my clothes and made my way slowly to the main hall. Just as I reached the door, I heard the booming voice of Lu Jie's father, General Lu. My foolish son has acted recklessly and caused such an absurd incident. Today, I have brought him here specifically to apologize. A faint smile touched the corners of my lips as I gracefully stepped into the hall. I saw General Lu bowing apologetically to my father, while Lu Jie stood reluctantly by his side. Shen Wanqing was seated beside my mother, who was gently comforting her. Upon seeing me, my mother shot me an annoyed glare. You knew we had guests, yet you kept them waiting for so long. Is this how I taught you to behave? Enough, say no more. Father frowned and interrupted, saying to me, greet your Uncle Lu, even though I knew my mother was biased. Being questioned like this still made my heart ache as if it were dripping blood. I suppressed the pain in my heart and bowed to General Lu. Jiao pays her respects to Uncle Lu. General Lu quickly reached out to help me up. Jiao, please rise. He turned and glared fiercely at Lu Jie. Hurry up and apologize to Jiao. Lu Jie reluctantly stepped forward. Miss Shen, I was too abrupt yesterday. Please forgive me. You flatter me, Lord Lu. I interrupted him calmly. Since the engagement between our families has been called off, let's dispense with these formalities. The hall fell silent instantly. General Lu's face stiffened, clearly not expecting me to be so resolute. Father frowned. Zhao Zhao, mind your manners. I looked directly into my father's eyes and said, daughter only feels that since Mr. Lu has someone else in his heart, our Shen family should not force him against his will. As I spoke, I glanced meaningfully at Shen Wanqing. Shen Wanqing's eyes immediately reddened, and she bit her lower lip lightly. I knew it. Sister is still blaming me for taking brother Jie away. Wanqing, don't cry. My mother held her tenderly, then turned to me with a stern tone. Zhao Zhao, Wanqing is your own cousin, how could you? What's wrong with me? I asked with a bewildered expression. My daughter was just speaking the truth. Does mother think I should cling desperately to a man whose heart belongs to someone else? My mother was left speechless by my question. A flicker of admiration passed through my father's eyes, and he surprisingly chimed in. Zhao Zhao makes a valid point. Brother Lu, this marriage arrangement between the Shen and Lu families, let's just call it off. No, Lu Jie suddenly exclaimed in agitation. I disagree. Everyone froze in shock. He rushed to Shen Wanqing, grabbing her hand. I want to marry Wanqing. Father, you promised me. General Lu's face turned livid. You fool. Marriage is a matter of parental orders and matchmakers' words. How can you act so recklessly? What he promised was Shen Zhaojiao as the wife and Shen Wanqing as the concubine. When did he ever agree to Shen Wanqing being the wife? Brother Shen, General Lu suppressed his anger. May I have a word with you in private? Shen's father readily agreed, and the two went into a side room for a private discussion. After General Lu and her father concluded their private talk, they emerged with contrasting expressions. Her father looked pleased, while General Lu appeared visibly relieved. Zhao Zhao, her father said solemnly, the Lu family has shown utmost sincerity. The marriage arrangement will proceed as planned. As for Wanqing, he paused. She will accompany you as a concubine when you marry into their household. You as the wife, she as the concubine. This can be considered a satisfactory solution for all. Lu Jie wanted to say something more, but a look from General Lu stopped him, forcing him to keep his mouth shut. Shen Wanqing buried her head in her mother's embrace, tears streaming down like rain, her fingernails digging fiercely into her palms. Her delicate face was twisted with rage. Why should she be the concubine? I was also quite surprised by this outcome. Why must the Shen and Lu families insist on this marriage? It wasn't until my gaze fell upon the floating bullet comments that I finally understood. The marriage alliance between the Shen and Lu families will definitely proceed. The male lead, Lu Jie, couldn't have become emperor without the Shen family's support. The female supporting character's father is truly shrewd. By retreating to advance, he appears to help her break off the engagement, but in reality, he wants to extract more benefits from General Lu. I suddenly realized that my father wasn't standing up for me, but rather seizing the opportunity to bargain with the Lu family. The current emperor is in poor health and obsessed with seeking immortality and the Tao, with very few offspring, only one son and one daughter. To make matters worse, the eldest prince is mentally impaired. The Lu family has achieved great military merits and holds military power. No wonder they have entertained such treasonous thoughts. From the bullet comments, I learned that in my past life, after my death, the Shen family fully supported Lu Jie in ascending the throne. Shen Wanqing became the empress, and the Shen family thus gained immense power. In this life, as long as I am alive, my father will naturally use me as a pawn in a political marriage. Zhao Zhao, General Lu said kindly, Jive was young and foolish before. Please bear with him. The wedding date is set for next March. How about that? General Lu seemed to be asking, but in reality, he was informing me. There was no way I could confront this man who dared to plot to usurp the throne. I suppressed the storm of emotions in my heart and kept a calm expression. I leave it entirely to my father and uncle to decide. The matter was settled. Mother comforted Shen Wanqing, who was on the verge of crying herself into a faint. With a pained heart, my brother glared at me hatefully. Are you satisfied now? Perhaps the pain had numbed me, but I actually felt like laughing. Could they really not see that I had no control over this matter? No, they just couldn't defy father, so they took their anger out on me. Holy crap, the female supporting character actually agreed. Something's off, really off. Why do I feel like the female supporting character is brewing a big move? Come on, she just likes Lu Jie. She was just acting before. You've all been fooled by her. An arm can't twist a thigh. What could a woman from ancient times confined to the inner chambers possibly do? I glanced faintly at the barrage of comments, and the last sentence caught my attention. Indeed, I should find a helper. Returning to my chamber, I dismissed the attendants and sorted through the current events alone. According to the bullet comments, if I'm the villainess, and Lu Jie and Shen Wanqing are the male and female leads, then according to the plot, There should be a male villain too. In that case, why not just team up with the male villain? But how am I supposed to know who the male villain is? Staring at the bullet comments floating across the screen, a sudden idea struck me. Perhaps I can find clues from the bullet comments. In the following days, I deliberately provoked the female lead, Shen Wanqing, who ended up smashing several sets of tea sets in anger because of me. I noticed that whenever the female lead was involved, the bullet comments became particularly active, but I still hadn't found any trace of the male supporting character. That was until the princess held a flower viewing banquet and invited noble ladies from the capital. Speaking of which, shouldn't the male supporting character make an appearance at the flower viewing banquet? Or I finally get to see Lord Xie. The Yanda psychotype is my favorite, Xie Linen, waiting for that iconic first meeting scene with Wanqing. Even though he almost strangled her, I still love him so much. Have you all forgotten? Last time Wanqing could participate because Shen Zhaozhao died, but now she's still alive. No way. I really hate the female antagonist, Xie Linen. A glint flickered in my eyes. So the malicious male antagonist is Xie Linen, the heir of the Jing'an prince's estate. In my previous life, I had no interaction with him, only heard that he was of a gloomy disposition, ruthless in his methods. A feared star in the capital that everyone avoided. However, many court ministers hoped the emperor would adopt Xie Linen as his heir. If the Lu family hadn't usurped the throne, it should have been Xie Linen sitting on the dragon throne. The bullet comments said Xie Linen almost strangled Shen Wanqing, which piqued my curiosity. Just what did Shen Wanqing do to provoke such a grim reaper? I have a feeling the flower viewing banquet will be quite interesting. However, given my current relationship with Shen Wanqing, if I were to suddenly suggest taking her to the flower viewing banquet, she would definitely be on guard. Just as I was still trying to figure out a way, my mother and brother suddenly burst into my room with a loud bang. Shen Zhaozhao, let Wanqing go to this flower viewing banquet. I set down the teacup in my hand and looked up at the furious Shen Juquan and her mother with a gloomy expression. What do you and my brother mean by this? I pretended not to understand. The invitation from the princess's residence was only for me. How can I bring Wanqing along? Mother snorted coldly. What are you pretending not to know? Everyone is aware of the princess's rules. Each noble lady can bring one companion. Wanqing is your own cousin. Isn't it only natural for you to take her? I sneered inwardly. To be honest, I really felt that Shen Wanqing was her biological daughter. Otherwise, why would she always shield and favor her everywhere? I remember the nanny at home told me that before my mother gave birth to me, she suffered from severe morning sickness and insisted on eating the sour apricots grown at my uncle's estate. That's why I wasn't born in the Shen residence, but rather at the estate. Could it be that I'm not really her biological child? My probing gaze made Mother Shen very uneasy. She suddenly raised her voice. What are you looking at? How did I give birth to such an ungrateful child who won't even bring along your own sister? I should have strangled you at birth, sister, if you don't want to. Shen Wanqing, who had arrived at some point, stood timidly at the door and said, Wanqing won't go then. Please don't let this cause a rift between us. Her eyes were slightly red, looking as if she had suffered the greatest injustice in the world. Every time she shed a few tears, Mother Shen and Brother Juquan would practically want to pluck the moon from the sky and give it to her. She was determined to attend this flower viewing banquet. She wanted to make an appearance in front of the noble ladies of the capital, to let them know that the Shen family's cousin was even more esteemed and cherished than the legitimate daughters. Let everyone know that Shen Zhaozhao is merely a figurehead, to be on good terms with the Shen family. The truth is to invite Shen Wanqing to all future banquets. Thinking this, she raised her hand and pretended to wipe away non-existent tears with a handkerchief. Wanqing, sweetie, don't cry. The female antagonist is too vicious. Exactly. What's the big deal about bringing her along? The supporting female character must be brewing some evil scheme again. The barrage of comments flooded the screen, almost all of them cursing me. I smiled faintly. Mother, you misunderstand. I was just thinking that the flower viewing banquet at the princess's estate has strict rules, and since my sister is new here, I'm afraid she might not be accustomed to them. Zhaozhao, my brother interrupted sharply. Wanqing is exceptionally clever. Why would she need your concern? If you keep making excuses, don't blame me for disowning you as a sister. My heart ached, but I rose calmly without showing it. You're too serious, brother, since both mother and you have said so. I'll take Wanqing with me. Shen Wanqing's eyes flickered with a hint of triumph as she said softly, Thank you, sister, ha ha ha. The supporting female character backed down. Brother is still the best. Looking forward to the late Qing dynasty making a stunning appearance at the flower appreciation banquet. I lowered my gaze to conceal the coldness in my eyes. The good show you're all anticipating will soon begin, but before that, I need to have a word with this Lord Xie first. Chang'an Tea House. Why is the male supporting character appearing already, and meeting the female supporting character too? They're up to something. Don't cause trouble. I ignored the shouts from the bullet comments, my gaze sizing up the person opposite me. The man was dressed in a dark brocade robe, with a dark green jade belt tied at his waist, making his skin appear as pale and cold as jade. Although his features were exceptionally handsome, there was a hint of gloominess about him. The corners of his lips were slightly raised, as if smiling yet not. It makes people hesitate to approach. I calmly picked up the tea on the table and took a gentle sip. This tea house serves excellent Snow Peak jade green tea, which leaves a lingering fragrance with just one sip. The owner behind this tea house is either wealthy or of noble status. Seeing me so unhurried, the man finally couldn't sit still any longer. Miss Shen, you deliberately had someone steal my wallet and then lured me here. Now that I'm here, why aren't you saying a word? The Shen family's way of treating guests has truly broadened my horizons. I couldn't help but laugh as I listened to Xie Linen's sarcastic remarks. This man seemed somewhat different from the rumors. His temper is like that of a child. I smiled at him good-naturedly. Young Master Xie, you've misunderstood. It's just that this humble woman was stunned upon seeing your celestial appearance for the first time. Although it may sound flattering, it's also the honest truth. Xie Linen's expression softened considerably. He lifted his chin, signaling with a hint of pride for me to continue. My fingertips gently traced the rim of the teacup as I lowered my gaze with a faint smile. Does the young master know why I chose this way to invite you to meet? Xie Linen snorted coldly. Miss Shen has always been full of surprises. How could I possibly know? Because, I raised my eyes to meet his gaze. I wished to discuss a transaction with the heir, but it must remain unknown to anyone. A flicker of interest passed through his eyes as his slender fingers tapped lightly on the table. Oh, do tell. I drew a letter from my sleeve and pushed it toward him. Please take a look, Your Highness. Xie Linen raised an eyebrow and leisurely unfolded the letter. When he saw the content clearly, his pupils suddenly contracted. Secret correspondence between the Lu family and the northern border. Where did you get this? That's not important. I lowered my voice. What matters is that the Lu family is secretly colluding with the northern border with ill intentions. The letter was found from Shen Wanqing. That day, General Lu wanted Shen Wanqing to become his concubine, and Lu Jie, seeing the woman he loved being humiliated like that, naturally refused. General Lu, fearing his son might disrupt his plans, had no choice but to reveal his intention to become emperor to Lu Jie, urging him to consider the bigger picture. Unexpectedly, to avoid any misunderstanding from the one he loved, Lu Jie directly showed the letter detailing the enemy's pulse to Shen Wanqing, assuring her that once the Lu family ascended the throne, he would divorce me and make her the crown princess. I was able to learn about these events thanks to the godlike perspective provided by the bullet comments. Why do I always feel like I'm being watched? It's so strange, especially since I'm the one who's supposed to be doing the watching. I also think, can the female supporting character see what we're saying? Otherwise, why does she always not follow the script? If that's the case, haven't we just sold out the male and female leads? Upstairs, you're right. The letter of collusion with the enemy has been brought out. The male and female leads are in danger. It's not really our fault, though. The male lead is too brainless and too love-struck. Even giving the letter to the female lead, forget it. The plot is already a complete mess. Might as well just take the whole bowl and drink it up. Suddenly amused by the barrage of comments, I let out a light laugh. So, Lord Xie, shall we cooperate? Xie Linen's gaze suddenly turned dangerous as he grabbed my wrist. Shen Jiaojiao, do you have any idea what you're doing? I let him restrain me, neither dodging nor flinching. I know very well. I want Lu Jie to be utterly disgraced. And you, the heir. I paused before continuing. Do you not wish to sit on that dragon throne that all men in the world dream of, mandated by heaven, long-lasting and prosperous? I coaxed him step by step. The air seemed to freeze for a moment. Suddenly, Xie Linen chuckled softly and released my wrist. Interesting. To break off the engagement, Miss Shen would even go so far as to betray her own fiancé. He is no longer my fiancé, I said calmly. Besides, compared to matters of the heart, I care more about the stability of the great Zhu dynasty. What about your cousin, and your parents and clan? Do you not even care about your own life? He looked at me warily. Your Shen family has an unclear relationship with the Lu family, after all. They are no longer my family, I replied with a bitter smile. In their eyes, I have never been able to compare to my cousin, Shen Wanqing. I suppose your highness the crown prince has also heard about what happened on the day of my coming-of-age ceremony, and I am someone who has already died once, a vengeful demon clawing my way out of hell. Why would I be afraid of dying again? Xie gaze roamed over my face, as if judging the truth in my words. He had been skilled at reading people's hearts since childhood. No lie could escape his eyes. My gaze was clear, neither evading nor avoiding. The tea house's private room fell into a terrifying silence, with only the occasional cries of street vendors outside reminding us of the passage of time. Xie suddenly felt a curious interest in the woman before him, and even a touch of pity that he himself hadn't noticed. To describe oneself as a vengeful demon crawling out of hell, what kind of immense grievance must she have suffered? Interesting. Xie released my wrist, a playful smile curling at the corner of his lips. Miss Shen is far more intriguing than I imagined. I rubbed my reddened wrist and continued calmly. If the young master doubts me, I will prove my sincerity at the princess's flower-viewing banquet in 3 days. Xie toyed with the letter in his hand and suddenly asked, "Why did you choose me?" "Because," I met his gaze directly, "you are the only one the Lu family fears." Holy crap, the supporting female character is playing with fire. Xie isn't easy to get along with. Isn't she afraid of facing backlash? Why do I feel like these two are unexpectedly a perfect match? Get some good food to eat. You're even starting to ship the male and female supporting characters. Those two are scheming. How can they compare to the pure-hearted main leads? But this time, the comments seem to start leaning in my favor. You call betraying the country and colluding with the enemy pure-hearted. Someone should really report you to the police for a thorough investigation. It's about understanding the difference between being simple and being foolish. Okay. Support the male and female supporting characters working together. Can't be bothered to argue with traitors. The barrage of comments was flooding the screen. But I had no time to pay attention. Fine. He suddenly stood up, untied a jade pendant from his waist, and tossed it onto the table. "In 3 days, I want to see your sincerity." I accepted the jade pendant, which was carved with an ancient Xie character. It felt warm and smooth to the touch, still carrying his body heat. "Rest assured, your highness." I bowed in salute. "Jiao Jiao will not fail your trust." Just before leaving, Xie suddenly turned back and gave me a meaningful look. "Shen Jiao Jiao, I hope you won't disappoint me. Otherwise," he chuckled lightly, "the consequences will be more than you can bear. This tea house is under my name. If you need to find me, just show the jade pendant to the tea house manager." Watching his retreating figure, I let out a long sigh of relief, only then realizing my back was soaked in cold sweat. The intimidation of the living king of hell truly lives up to its reputation. Oh no, the female supporting character is about to turn dark. Why do I feel like Xie seems to have a bit of a thing for her? Stop shipping them blindly, focus on the plot. I gently rubbed the jade pendant in my hand, a slight smile curling at the corner of my lips. Now that I've secured an ally, there's someone to handle the dirty and exhausting work from now on. Just as Xie stepped out of the tea house, he suddenly sneezed. He looked up in surprise at the bright, sunlit sky. Strange, catching a cold even in such hot weather. On the day of the flower-viewing banquet, I deliberately chose an elegant and understated dress. While Shen Wanqing was dressed as flamboyantly as a peacock, seeing me dressed like a maid, she couldn't help but sneer. "Sister, dressing like this is such an embarrassment to our Shen family. People might think our family can't even afford decent clothes." I didn't argue with her, but instead replied with a smile, "I'm not as good-looking as my sister, so wearing such glamorous clothes would be a waste, but they suit you perfectly. At least you know your place." Shen Wanqing snorted and stepped onto the carriage first. I sneered inwardly. She had no idea that the one and only princess of the realm particularly disliked others stealing her spotlight. Whenever attending the princess's gatherings, noble ladies in the capital dressed very modestly. Only Shen Wanqing dared to stand out so boldly. Arriving at the princess's residence, Shen Wanqing alighted from the carriage with her head held high, her splendid attire shimmering brilliantly under the sunlight. Drawing sidelong glances from everyone around, I followed behind her with downcast eyes and a humble demeanor, dressed plainly like an inconspicuous foil. The maid at the mansion gate frowned almost imperceptibly upon seeing Shen Wanqing, but still bowed respectfully. "Young ladies, please follow me." Shen Wanqing shot me a triumphant glance, as if to say, "See, even the servants at the princess's mansion treat me with utmost respect." However, the moment we stepped into the garden, I heard a sharp reprimand. "How dare you? Who allowed you to dress like this at my flower-viewing banquet?" Before Shen Wanqing could react, a whip lashed fiercely at her skirt with a sharp crack. startling her into a scream as she stumbled backward. I looked up and saw a young woman in deep red palace attire standing on the steps, holding a gold-threaded soft whip. Her eyes were sharp, but a scar on her brow, though partly concealed with powder, remained somewhat visible. She was none other than the currently most favored Princess Changle. Princess. Shen Wanqing's face turned deathly pale, her knees giving way as she dropped to the ground in a kneel. I detest nothing more than those who try to steal the spotlight at my banquet, the princess sneered, her gaze sweeping over the jewels adorning Shen Wanqing's hair. What, did you come here just to outshine me? It was only then that Shen Wanqing realized that all the noble ladies today were dressed very modestly. I dare not, Your Highness. Shen Wanqing trembled, kowtowing repeatedly, her voice shaking. I only what? The princess narrowed her eyes, her tone dangerous. In her panic, Shen Wanqing blurted out, "It was my sister who told me to dress like this." I sneered inwardly. Sure enough, her first instinct was to drag me down with her. The princess turned her gaze to me, and I immediately knelt, speaking respectfully. "Your Highness, please be discerning. I am wearing plain-colored attire today, with no intention of overstepping my bounds. As for my sister," I paused, my tone helpless. "She is young and ignorant of the rules. I beg Your Highness to show mercy." The princess stared at me for a few seconds, then suddenly smiled. "You do know your place." She turned to Shen Wanqing, her eyes filled with disgust. "Guards, drag this ignorant thing away. Have her kneel in the side courtyard and deal with her after the banquet ends." "No, spare me, princess, sister, save me." Shen Wanqing struggled in terror but was forcibly dragged away by the guards. I lowered my head, a faint smile curling at the corner of my lips. After Shen Wanqing was dragged away, the princess was in high spirits and waved her hand to signal the banquet continue. The noble ladies took their seats one after another, while I was placed at the very end. Clearly, the princess was somewhat satisfied with me, the sensible legitimate daughter of the Shen family, but she didn't hold me in high regard. During the banquet, the princess would often raise her hand to touch the scar on her face. Though the gesture was swift, a trace of gloom flickered in her eyes for a moment. That scar was the result of a fall from a 2-meter-high step when she was a child, caused by a sharp stone, as her nanny had failed to take good care of her. Over the years, despite consulting numerous renowned physicians, the scar remained untreated. As a result, the princess's temper grew increasingly volatile, and she often lashed out at people with a whip. Shen Wanqing, in an attempt to steal the spotlight, not only adorned herself with dazzling jewels but also carefully painted a floral design on her eyebrows, making her face appear even more stunning. How could Princess Changle not be infuriated by this? My fingertips gently caressed the ointment in my arms. I learned from the bullet comments that in my previous life, after Shen Wanqing was punished by kneeling upon returning from the flower-viewing banquet, she went to great lengths to please the princess, searching far and wide for rare herbs and seeking out folk healers. In the end, she bought this priceless ointment from a Persian merchant and presented it to the princess, successfully healing the princess's scars. As a result, Shen Wanqing gained the recognition of the noble ladies in the capital, and even her father, Shen, earned greater trust from the emperor. Taking advantage of this, Shen's father replaced the palace guards with the Lu family's army. Later, he somehow obtained some elixir of immortality, which the emperor consumed. The emperor, who was already in poor health, grew increasingly frail and eventually passed away without leaving a will, giving the Lu family an opportunity to seize power. This time I bought the ointment in advance to please the princess, hoping she would persuade the emperor to appoint the crown prince sooner. I curled the corner of my lips and rose to approach the princess. "Your Highness," I greeted respectfully. The princess looked up at me, her tone indifferent. "What is it?" "I dare to present a gift to Your Highness." I took out an exquisite porcelain box from my sleeve and offered it with both hands. "This is a specially made jade cream from Persia, known for its remarkable effect on scars." The princess's eyes suddenly turned cold. "What do you mean by this?" The noble ladies around gasped in shock, lowering their heads one after another, afraid of being implicated. I maintained a respectful posture, my voice gentle yet firm. "Your Highness possesses unparalleled beauty and should not be troubled by a mere scar. I cannot bear to see a pearl obscured by dust." The princess stared at me intently, then suddenly sneered after a long pause. "You are quite bold." She reached out to take the porcelain box, opened it and sniffed, raising an eyebrow slightly. "It truly is high-quality jade beauty cream." I smiled faintly. "If Your Highness trusts me, I am willing to enter the palace daily to apply the ointment for you." The princess narrowed her eyes, as if weighing the pros and cons, and finally nodded. Very well, I'll trust you this once. As soon as the princess finished speaking, a sudden commotion arose outside the garden. Lord Xie, what exactly has Wanqing done to offend you, that you would seek her death? Lu Jie spoke with unconcealed anxiety and anger. The sound seemed to be coming from the side hall. The princess stood up, her brow slightly furrowed, and said to the noble ladies, "Go and see what has happened." Understood. In the side courtyard of the princess's residence, Lu Jie and Xie Linen were confronting each other. The atmosphere tense and hostile. Shun Wanqing knelt on the ground, her dress disheveled, her hair in disarray, and a red mark on her neck, likely from being choked. She wept with pearly tears, and upon seeing Lu Jie, she immediately rushed over and clung to his leg. "Brother Jie, save me, Lord Xie, he wants to kill me." Xie Linen stood with his hands behind his back, a cold smile playing on his lips. This woman had inexplicably thrown herself at him. Didn't she know he had a thing about cleanliness? Lu Jie glared furiously. "Lord Xie, Wanqing is just a weak woman. Why must you humiliate her like this?" "Humiliate?" Xie Linen sneered. Casting a disdainful glance at Shun Wanqing, "She just threw herself into my arms, trying to seduce me. I merely gave her a little lesson. What's wrong with that?" "You're talking nonsense," Shun Wanqing retorted sharply, then turned to Lu Jie with tear-filled eyes. "Brother Jie, I just felt dizzy from kneeling too long and accidentally bumped into Lord Xie. I already apologized, but I slowly curled a cold smile. Shun Wanqing was probably tired from kneeling too long and wanted to repeat her old trick of playing pitiful to gain sympathy. Unfortunately, she picked the wrong person. Xie Linen wasn't fond of her type. "Enough," the princess interrupted coldly, approaching with a group of noble ladies. Her sharp gaze swept over the group. "Causing trouble in my residence, how dare you?" Lu Jie quickly bowed in apology. "Your Highness, please forgive my offense. I was merely concerned about Wanqing." "Concerned?" the princess sneered. "What is the relationship between you, young Master Lu, and this Miss Shin, that would warrant you barging into my flower-viewing banquet?" Lu Jie was momentarily speechless, his face flushing red. Xie Linen spoke up at the opportune moment. "Your Highness, young Master Lu and Miss Shin are deeply in love and have long pledged themselves to each other in private. However," he gave me a meaningful glance, "Miss Shin seems unwilling to be a concubine. Which is why she sought to attach herself to me, hoping for a higher status." "You're slandering me," Shun Wanqing screamed, looking at Lu Jie in panic. "Brother Jie, I didn't." He's framing me. Lu Jie's gaze was complex, filled with both heartache and doubt. The princess frowned in disgust. "I despise shameless women like you the most. Guards, drag her away and give her 20 heavy strikes." "No, Your Highness, have mercy." Shun Wanqing struggled in terror, throwing herself toward Lu Jie. "Brother Jie, save me. I really didn't seduce Lord Xie." Lu Jie gritted his teeth and suddenly knelt down. "Your Highness, Wanqing is my betrothed concubine. I am willing to take her punishment." The entire hall erupted in uproar. I stood beside the princess, a faint smile curling at the corner of my lips. As expected, that fool Lu Jie took the bait. According to the laws of Ju, a man cannot have a concubine before taking a wife. He may only have a bed companion. The princess's eyes turned cold. "A concubine? You haven't even taken a wife yet, and you already have a concubine. Is this the fine upbringing of your Lu family? Does the law permit this?" Lu Jie stiffened. Xie Linen seized the moment to add fuel to the fire. "Your Highness, the Lu family holds heavy military power. To disregard the law so brazenly, it seems they must have some backing." The princess's gaze sharpened abruptly. "Lu Jie, does your Lu family intend to rebel?" Hit right in his secret thoughts, Lu Jie turned pale with shock. "I dare not," the princess said sharply, "barging into my residence, sheltering the woman who seduced the heir, and openly defying the laws of Great Ju. Your Lu family has quite the audacity." She turned to her maid and said, "Go and request my father's decree. I intend to thoroughly investigate what the Lu family is up to." Lu Jie's face turned ashen, and he collapsed to the ground. Shun Wanqing was so frightened that she fainted. Xie Linen walked to my side and whispered. Satisfied, I lowered my gaze, hiding the amusement in my eyes. "Thank you for your help, Your Highness." He snorted lightly. "Remember your promise." I nodded. Naturally, the barrage of comments flooded the screen. Holy crap. The female and male supporting characters teamed up to screw over the main couple. Lu Jie, that idiot, actually jumped into the trap himself. The princess is clearly suspicious. The Lu family is doomed. Ha ha ha, this is hilarious. Shun Wanqing tried to gain an advantage only to end up worse off. Returning to the Shun residence, the atmosphere inside was deathly still. Mother and elder brother sat in the main hall, their faces frighteningly grim. Shun Wanqing was kneeling by her mother's side, weeping as if drenched in pear blossoms in the rain. When she saw me enter, she lifted her swollen, red eyes, filled with venomous resentment. Slap! My mother abruptly stood up and slapped me hard across the face. My cheek burned with pain, and a faint taste of blood seeped from the corner of my mouth. Shun Jiaojiao, how dare you let Wanqing be humiliated at the princess's mansion? My mother scolded sharply, her voice piercing and harsh. Do you even know she was nearly strangled to death by Lord Xie? I slowly raised my hand, wiping the blood from the corner of my mouth, and looked up coldly. Mother, isn't it too biased of you to strike without even asking for an explanation? How dare you? Mother was furious and raised her hand to slap me again. This time, I directly seized her wrist, gripping it so tightly she couldn't break free. Mother, I have to go to the princess's residence tomorrow to apply medicine for Her Highness. I stared into her eyes and said word by word, if the princess sees the injury on my face and asks about the reason, what do you think she will assume? Mother's pupils contracted, clearly not expecting me to threaten her. The princess is already displeased with the Shun family today. If she finds out you laid a hand on me for Shun Wanqing's sake, I chuckled softly. Do you think father can still remain secure in the court? Mother shuddered all over and finally let go. My brother Shun Juquan suddenly stood up, glaring at me angrily. Shun Jiaojiao, Wanqing is your sister. How can you be so cold-blooded? Sister, I sneered at him. When she seduced Lu Jie, she didn't treat me like an elder sister. Shun Wanqing cried even harder, tugging at Shun Zhouquan's sleeve. Brother Juquan, I really didn't. It was my sister who framed me, making me wear such extravagant clothes and offend the princess. Shun Juquan held her tenderly, glaring at me angrily. Wanqing has a gentle nature. How could she do such a thing? Clearly, you're jealous of her and deliberately harmed her. I couldn't be bothered to explain, just said calmly, think whatever you want. After all, the situation in the capital is about to change. Only fools are obsessed with love and romance. The Lu family was investigated, and many high-ranking officials were implicated, with the Shun family being no exception. The emperor was furious, and the entire court was in a state of panic. I entrusted a reliable person to deliver a letter and that jade pendant engraved with the character Xie to the tea house owner. As I had expected, in March, the Lu family, in desperation, rebelled. When the news of the Lu family's rebellion arrived, I was in the princess's residence applying medicine to Princess Chang'e. Your Highness, the Lu family has rebelled. The maid hurried in to report, her voice trembling. The princess let out a cold laugh and set her teacup heavily on the table. As expected, they couldn't hold back any longer. I lowered my gaze and continued applying the medicine for her, my fingertips steady. Aren't you surprised? The princess glanced at me sideways. The letters proving the Lu family's collusion with the enemy state have been presented to His Majesty. They know they're doomed, so they have no choice but to take desperate risks, I said softly. It's rather strange how a cornered dog will jump over a wall. The princess looked at me meaningfully. Xie Linan certainly has clever methods. I smiled faintly but did not respond. The Lu family's rebellion lasted less than 10 days. Xie Linan personally led troops to suppress it, capturing Lu Jie and his son alive. In the imperial court, the emperor immediately issued an edict to execute the entire Lu family. On the day of the execution, I stood on the city tower, watching Lu Jie kneeling on the execution ground. He looked up and saw me, his eyes filled with regret. Jiao Jiao. He called my name in a hoarse voice. It seems he has realized that the incriminating letters were found from Shun Wanqing. He feels that Shun Wanqing has betrayed him. I turned and walked away without any expression on my face. I have no obligation to defend Shun Wanqing to him. Soon after, I caught the scent of blood in the air. The Shun family, due to their marriage alliance with the Lu family, was also implicated. But Her Highness the Princess and Crown Prince Xie Linan both pleaded for leniency on behalf of the Shun family. Yes, following this rebellion, court officials have been submitting memorials one after another, urging the establishment of a crown prince to stabilize the court. The emperor has decreed that Xie Linan is to be established as the crown prince. Due to the intercession of the two, Shun's father was ultimately dismissed from his post, but the Shun family was spared. Seeing that she had lost Lu Jie as her backer, Shun Wanqing turned to seduce her brother, Shun Juquan. After she became pregnant, her mother, who had always doted on her, unexpectedly slapped her. Shun's mother struck with such force that Shun Wanqing staggered and fell to the ground, a trickle of blood seeping from the corner of her mouth. Clutching her cheek, she looked up in disbelief. Aunt, you hit me. Mother, Shun Juquan said, his heart aching as he lifted Shun Wanqing into his arms. This is my fault, don't blame Wanqing. Besides, you've always loved her dearly, wouldn't it be good if I married her? What's more, she's now carrying my child. What did you say? Shun's mother turned pale with rage, her whole body trembling. She's pregnant. Do you even realize that you two are? Her words broke off abruptly. But everyone caught the underlying meaning. Shun Juquan stood frozen in place, his face deathly pale. Mother, what do you mean by that, Mrs.? Shun closed her eyes briefly, and when she opened them again, they were filled with pain and regret. You two are biological siblings. Boom, the words struck like a thunderbolt, leaving everyone present utterly horrified. Shun Wanqing collapsed to the ground, murmuring, impossible, this can't be. Shun Zhouquan's face turned deathly pale. Holy crap, what a bombshell. Then whose child is Shun Zhaozhao? Chilling to think about, Shun Juquan grabbed his mother's shoulders. His voice hoarse. Mother, explain clearly, how could Wanqing and I possibly be biological siblings? Mother Shun, tears streaming down her face, finally broke down and revealed the truth. Back then, I was deeply in love with my maternal cousin, but my family looked down on his poverty and forced us apart. Marrying me off to your father, after giving birth to you, I intended to settle down and live peacefully. But then I met my cousin again, when Wanqing was born. Her eyes and nose looked nothing like your father's, and I was terrified. Coincidentally, a pregnant woman fleeing disaster came to the estate around that time, and she also gave birth to a daughter, but she died in childbirth after giving birth. I swapped the babies and gave Wanqing to my maternal cousin to raise. After my cousin passed away, I naturally brought Wanqing back to the mansion. Shun Juquan was as if struck by lightning, staggering back a few steps. Shun Wanqing sat dazedly on the ground, then suddenly burst into hysterical laughter. Ha ha ha, so, I'm carrying my own brother's child. She abruptly looked up, glaring at me with venomous hatred. It's all because of you, Shun Zhaozhao. If it weren't for you, how could I have fallen to such a state? I smiled faintly. You've made your bed, now lie in it. Shun's father lunged at Shun's mother like a madman. You bitch, cheating on me, I'll kill you. I watched the farce unfold with cold eyes, feeling nothing inside. The supporting female character is so badass. This plot twist is absolutely brilliant. It was strange, the bullet comments that had accompanied me for so long suddenly vanished. Perhaps it was because the plot had completely fallen apart, as they said. From that day on, I never saw the bullet comments again. I walked out of the Shun mansion gate, and the sunlight fell on me, warm and comforting. A magnificent carriage stopped before me. The curtain lifted to reveal Xie Linen's handsome face. All taken care of? He asked, raising an eyebrow. I smiled faintly. Thank you for your concern, Your Highness, everything is settled. Xie Linen stared at my face for a long moment. Zhaozhao, what do you plan to do next? I understand his intentions, but I don't want to be trapped in the palace like a caged bird. If possible, I would still prefer to be a soaring bluebird. Your Highness, my heart belongs to the mountains and rivers. I wish to see more of the world. Xie Linen, ever so perceptive, showed a hint of disappointment in his eyes but still bowed to me with respect. Then I wish Miss Zhaozhao to traverse the splendid landscapes and behold the world's prosperity and desolation. Story 2. When I was marrying the heir of Marquis Jingyuan, his mistress Ruanyang was in labor. I stopped him as he tried to rush out, threatening to take my own life to force him to stay and complete the wedding ceremony. Our marriage was decreed by the emperor. If he left, it would be an act of defying the imperial order. Ruanyang died in childbirth, along with her unborn child. Without even a final meeting, he came to loathe me intensely and subjected me to all manner of torment after our marriage. When I was pregnant and nearing delivery, he sealed off the Marquis's residence, preventing anyone from fetching a midwife or physician. He placed Ruanyang's memorial tablet before me. She died because of you, and now you've paid with your life in return. I have written a letter of divorce to cast you out. After your death, you will only be buried in a mass grave. I will record Ruanyang as the Marquis's wife in the family registry and move her remains to the Xiao family ancestral tomb. When I die, I will be buried with her. I died from postpartum hemorrhage during a difficult childbirth, right in front of Ruanyang's memorial tablet. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day of my wedding. Your Highness, it's terrible. Our young lady is in labor, and the midwife says it's a difficult birth. Please, go and see her quickly. A maid with a face as lovely as a lotus flower rushed into the wedding hall, interrupting our ceremony. Kneeling on the ground with tears streaming down her face like pear blossoms, she kowtowed and pleaded, Your Highness, please save our young lady. The child she's carrying is your own flesh and blood. The red silk in my hand tightened, and the person opposite me let go of his end. Xiao Qian turned pale with shock and exclaimed in disbelief, "What did you say? How could Ruanyang be having a difficult birth?" Xiao Qian abandoned the hall full of guests and prepared to leave with the maid. In my previous life, it was at this moment that I stopped him, forbidding him to leave and demanding that he complete the wedding, only for him to resent me for the rest of his life. But this time, I will never stop him again. I lifted the red veil in one swift motion. "Young master, who is Ruanyang? Why does this maid say she is carrying your child?" My expression was one of shock and suspicion, and it also evoked sympathy from those who looked at me, the bride who had yet to cross the threshold. The guests whispered among themselves, "Miss Shen is truly pitiable. Before she's even entered the door, her husband's mistress is about to give birth. What can be done? As soon as she enters the door, she becomes the mother of a concubine's son. Who knows which son will inherit the position of heir in the future? Xiao Qian has gone too far. This is a marriage arranged by the emperor. If Miss Shen makes a scene and the marriage falls through, the Xiao family would be slapping the emperor in the face. What young lady would be willing to have such a thing happen on her wedding day before even stepping through the door? The Xiao family is trampling the Shen family's dignity underfoot." Xiao Qian, hearing my question, looked impatient. "Ruji, Ruanyang is carrying my child. I cannot stand by and watch her die. I'll explain it to you later." With that, he turned to leave. "Wait a moment," I stepped forward. "Your Highness, today is our wedding day, and before we've even completed the ceremony, you're abandoning me for an outsider. Where does that leave my Shen family? If you had someone in your heart, why didn't you say so earlier? Instead of humiliating me at the altar, a daughter of the Shen family does not necessarily have to marry into your Xiao family." Xiao Qian flicked his sleeve. "It's not that I won't marry you, but Ruanyang's life is at stake. How can I stand by and do nothing?" My eyes reddened, tears on the verge of falling, but the marriage between our families was personally granted by the emperor, and the auspicious time for the wedding ceremony was chosen by the imperial astronomer. If the heir leaves, this marriage will be invalid. I must ask the Marquis to explain this to His Majesty tomorrow. As I finished speaking, tears fell like rolling pearls. To play the fragile one, I've learned that in this lifetime, I want everyone to know that it was Xiao Qian who wronged me, that it was the Xiao family's fault. The Marquis of Jingyuan and his wife, hearing the murmurs around them, were filled with shame and finally stepped forward to speak. "Qian, don't be reckless. Today is your wedding day. How can you abandon Miss Shen and leave? Get yourself together immediately and proceed with the ceremony at once." The little maid knelt with a thud. Marquise, our young lady is carrying the heir to the Marquis's household. How can you be so heartless? Young master, for your sake, our young lady has followed you without status or recognition, bearing your children. Will you truly stand by and watch her die? Xiao Qian chimed in. "Father, mother, that is your own grandson. How can you bear to be so cruel?" Then he turned to look at me. "Since the marriage was decreed by His Majesty, it's already set in stone. Why the rush? Could it be that the esteemed daughter of the Shen family is so eager to marry into our Xiao family? Wouldn't that be embarrassing if word got out?" After taking a slow breath, she continued, "Ruji, I know you have a gentle nature. Once you become the mistress of the household, I'm sure you and Ruanyang will become good sisters. Wouldn't it be wonderful to live together in harmony?" I let out a cold laugh. "Young master, we are not yet married, and the wedding has not taken place. I cannot be considered a sister to your mistress." I threw the red bridal veil to the ground. "Since the young master is so eager to save her, and Ruanyang is carrying your child, how could I, Ruji, stand in the way and risk her life? But since ancient times, it has been difficult to balance two affections. If the young master wishes to leave, I will not stop you. However, the marriage alliance between our two families cannot be broken because of you. After all, no one can bear the crime of defying the imperial decree." The Marquis of Jingyuan also said with a grim face. "Qian, this is defying the imperial decree. How can you, for the sake of a mistress, push the Marquisate into a dangerous situation?" Xiao Qian retorted, "Father, I only need to agree to marry her. What does it matter when the wedding takes place? You're being too timid." He completely ignored the authority of the imperial decree, looking unconcerned. Could it be that the emperor, in bestowing the marriage, also dictates when we consummate the union? Seeing that he had finally angered the Marquis, I smiled slightly and stepped forward, looking at the Marquis and his wife, saying word by word, "Marquis, Madam, since this is a marriage alliance between the Xiao and Shen families, it was never specified whom I am to marry. The heir already has someone in his heart. I, Ruji, do not take what others love. my marriage with him is hereby called off. As for the person I am to marry today, I wish to change it to the second young master, Xiao." The entire hall was shocked. Xiao Qian laughed loudly. "What did you say? You want to marry my second brother? He is but a mere military man, while I am the esteemed heir of Jingyuan Marquis. Think carefully." I looked directly at him. "So what? Although you are the heir, you already had a mistress and a child by her when you sought to marry me. Why should I marry such an unfaithful man? The second young master Xiao may be a military general, but he has no wives or concubines, which makes him 1,000, no, 10,000 times better than you, the heir." I then looked at him mockingly. "Or does the heir regret it and want to marry me after all? Ah. I wonder how Ruanyang is doing now in her difficult childbirth. I wonder if she is in excruciating pain, rolling around in agony." Hearing my words, the little maid grabbed Xiao Qian's robe. "Marquis, we can't delay any longer. The young lady can't hold on much longer." Xiao Qian looked at me with a face full of disdain. "Fine, since you'd rather be a military general's wife than a noble consort, I'll grant your wish. Once Ruanyang gives birth to my son, I will marry her, Shun Ruji. Don't you regret this?" After saying this, he took off his wedding robe and threw it aside, then stormed out under the gaze of all the guests. I turned to instruct my nanny, "Go back to the estate and have the master and mistress come, and bring Xiao Qian's betrothal certificate with them." My parents arrived quickly upon hearing the news. My father, with a livid face, looked at the old marquis. "What a fine Jingyuan Marquis estate. Do you take the Grand Tutor's household for fools? For the heir to cause such a scene over an outside woman on his wedding day, don't blame me for reporting him to the court tomorrow." I stopped my father. "Father, I've made it clear to Xiao Qian that I won't be marrying him. After all, the alliance between the Xiao and Shun families only mentioned a marriage between the two houses, without specifying who was to marry whom. Now that Xiao Qian has a mistress, I absolutely refuse to marry him." "But the Xiao family has more than one son. There's also General Xiao Chifeng, the Tiger of Might." Mother asked softly. "Ruji, you don't have to force yourself. Even if we take this matter to the emperor, it would be the Xiao family's fault." I smiled faintly. Cancelling an imperial marriage decree is no easy task, but switching the groom is something that can be easily arranged. The emperor surely wouldn't mind whether I marry the eldest or the second son of the Xiao family. What he wants is an alliance between the two families, to keep each other in check. Moreover, in the previous life, Xiao Qian drove me to my death for Rui Niang, and it was Xiao Qifeng who reprimanded him at the memorial hall for his betrayal, for harming his lawful wife for an insignificant mistress, exposing Xiao Qian's ugly nature to everyone. Father pondered for a moment, then nodded in agreement, turning to Jingyuan Marquis. "What does the Marquis think?" The Marquis and Marchioness of Jingyuan hastily nodded. "This is excellent, though it wrongs Ruji." Someone quickly called Qifeng back. Father raised a hand to interrupt them. "Naturally, it wrongs my daughter. The heir's moral conduct is flawed, openly defying the imperial decree. Marquis, if this matter reaches the emperor's ears, I fear even the Jingyuan Marquis estate cannot avoid reprimand. The heir, after being engaged to my daughter, still had an affair with another woman and even caused a scene on the wedding day. If the Marquis does not impose any punishment, I fear even the emperor will assume that such misconduct was permitted by the Marquis." The Marquis of Jingyuan was stunned and grew anxious. "Then what should we do?" I spoke up. "Since the Marquis feels that Ruji has been wronged, and I, for the sake of preserving the dignity of both families, did not make a scene. Nor did my father lodge a complaint before His Majesty. The best course of action now is for the Marquis to submit a memorial to revoke Xiao Qian's position as heir and appoint Xiao Chifeng in his stead. After all, Xiao Qian, as the heir, has achieved nothing and repeatedly caused trouble for the Marquis's household, while the second young master is exceptionally brave, has repeatedly distinguished himself in battle, and is someone even the emperor has praised. Does the Marquis not think he is more suited to inherit the title? Does the Marquis believe that someone who defies the imperial decree is still more suitable to be the heir?" The Marquis of Jingyuan, looking utterly dejected, finally nodded. "Very well, as you all say. I will submit a memorial tomorrow to request the emperor's approval to change the heir." Second young master has arrived. Xiao Chifeng was discovered standing at the back of the crowd, having listened for who knows how long. He stepped forward, and the Marquis of Jingyuan patted him on the shoulder. "From now on, the future of the Marquis of Jingyuan's household rests on you. Since your elder brother disregards the prospects of our household, let him pursue his freedom. From now on, he is no longer the heir to the Marquis of Jingyuan." Xiao Chifeng looked at me deeply and said, "Miss Shen, You should know that I am but a martial man. Unversed in the arts of music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, I fear I cannot often compose poetry with you, nor will I always have the time to sweep snow and brew tea for you, but I, Xiao Qifeng, swear that if you marry me, I will protect you for a lifetime. Are you willing? I smiled and said, I am willing. Amid the sounds of joy, I once again covered my head with the red bridal veil, bowed to heaven and earth with Xiao Qifeng, and became husband and wife. Looking at the burning dragon and phoenix candles, I finally felt at ease. This time, I had finally escaped Xiao Qian and taken his position as the heir. I wanted to see if he would regret it, losing his status as the heir and forever cutting ties with the title of Marquis of Jingyuan, all for the sake of a woman named Rui. The news that Xiao Qian had abandoned his wedding for the sake of his mistress spread throughout the capital overnight. Xiao Qian did not return all night. And even when Xiao Qifeng and I were serving tea to the elders and greeting the clan relatives, the Marquis sent someone to fetch Xiao Qian back. Unexpectedly, not only did Xiao Qian return, but Rui Niang also came back, holding a child in her arms. She was wearing a white fox fur cloak, a jeweled forehead band, and entered the mansion leaning weakly against Xiao Qian's chest. She held the child delicately and bowed. Greetings to the Marquis and Madam, Bower. Quickly greet your grandfather and grandmother. She teased the child in her arms, her face full of pride. The Marquis of Jingyuan and his wife looked ashen. What day is today? How dare you bring her back to the mansion? Xiao Qian said, Father, Mother, Ruanyang risked her life to give birth to Bower for me. He is the legitimate eldest grandson of our Marquis household. Ruanyang and I are truly in love. I have decided to marry her as my principal wife. To be the lady of the heir to the Marquis of Jingyuan, Ruanyang looked at him with deep emotion. My dear Xiao, having you in this life is enough for me. My son and I ask for nothing more. Please do not trouble the Marquis and his wife. Xiao Qian held her tightly. You gave birth to Bower for me, making you a great contributor to the Jingyuan Marquis manor. My mind is made up. You will be the wife of the heir to the Marquis manor. He saw me walk in wearing a bright red dress, and his expression softened as he said, I know you were wronged yesterday. I didn't perform the wedding ceremony with you, leaving you to face the hall full of guests alone. I didn't expect you to be so understanding, spending your wedding night alone without causing a scene. I will make it up to you in the future. What I said yesterday about cancelling the marriage was just words spoken in anger. I will treat you well from now on. However, Ruanyang gave birth to my eldest son, so I can only make her the wife of the heir, but you will also be an equal wife. Ruanyang has a gentle nature and is not suited to managing the household. In the future, you will be in charge of the household affairs of the Marquis manor, which also gives you due respect. You and Ruanyang must get along harmoniously as sisters. I frowned as I listened to his nonsense and was about to speak when someone spoke for me. Brother, what are you saying to my wife, Ruji? It's time to serve tea to the elders. Xiao Qifeng stepped out from behind me, gently pulling me forward. Xiao Qian was stunned. What wife? What are you talking about? I was the one who married Ruji. How could she be your wife? Xiao Qifeng smiled, holding my hand tightly as he looked at him. No, you didn't go through with the ceremony. Weren't you off looking for your Ruanyang? Now everyone in the capital knows that I was the one who married her and entered the bridal chamber with her last night. Xiao Qian shouted, Impossible. Father, Mother, how could you let this happen? Isn't this a joke to everyone? Marquis Jingyuan said with a dark expression. You still know that the Marquis's residence was a laughingstock last night. If it weren't for Qifeng, our family's reputation would have been completely ruined. The imperial decree has arrived. A eunuch's shout interrupted the argument. By the mandate of heaven, the emperor decrees, Xiao Qian, the heir of Marquis Jingyuan, has failed in his conduct and disregarded the emperor's grace. The emperor grants Marquis Jingyuan's request to strip Xiao Qian of his position as heir. Xiao Qifeng is hereby appointed as the new heir of Marquis Jingyuan. The heir's wife, Lady Shen, is intelligent, virtuous, dignified, and graceful, and is granted the title of second-rank noble consort. May the couple work together in harmony. So it is decreed. Everyone knelt to receive the decree and express gratitude, but Xiao Qian stood dumbstruck. Only after the eunuch left did he come to his senses. He collapsed to the ground, crying out, Why, I am the heir of Marquis Jingyuan. Why strip me of my position? His eyes were bloodshot as he stared at me. So you're that kind of fickle woman. You were already engaged, yet just because I went to save Ruanyang, you could marry another man. I laughed bitterly at his attempt to shift the blame. Xiao Qian, yesterday's wedding was set by the emperor as the day for the union of our two houses. You may not care about it, but the Xiao family cannot risk the entire clan because of you. If the emperor were to take offense, who would bear the charge of defying the imperial decree? You, the marquis, or the hundreds of clansmen who would have to shoulder it for you? You were engaged yet still dallying with others outside. And now you want to pin the blame on me. You may not care about living, but we do. Weren't you the one who looked down on the marquis's household? Why are you suddenly so concerned about the position of the heir now? The Marquis of Jingyuan spoke from his seat of honor. Qian, you have shown no sense of responsibility and nearly caused a great disaster. Submitting a memorial to request a change in the heir is my decision. You need say no more. Xiao Qian roared, I am the heir. You cannot treat me like this. The Marquis of Jingyuan looked at him coldly, utterly disappointed. What? Do you intend to defy the imperial decree? He finally swallowed his words and glared fiercely at me and Xiao Qifeng. But no one paid him any attention, only watching joyfully as Xiao Qifeng and I presented tea and performed the ceremony for the newlyweds. When it came to Xiao Qian, I followed the etiquette and offered him a cup of tea. Elder brother, please have some tea. Then I looked at Ruenyang, and this lady, how should I address her? To call her sister-in-law would be premature since she hasn't entered the family, but if she's a concubine, then I must apologize, Ruji, for I cannot in good conscience offer this cup of tea. Ruenyang's eyes reddened, and she tugged at Xiao Qian. Xiao Lang. Xiao Qian seemed to snap back to reality, glaring at me fiercely. This is your sister-in-law. On the day Bauer turns 1 month old, I will marry her and bring her into the household. I covered my mouth and laughed. Oh, so it's sister-in-law. My apologies. Since last night, sister-in-law has become the talk of the capital. I suppose everyone is curious to see what kind of person she is. I'm sure on the day of your wedding, the crowd coming to witness the ceremony will be so large they'll trample down the Marquis's gate. Xiao Qian let out a cold laugh. Do you think snatching the heir's position will secure everything? Shenruji, I will make you regret marrying second brother. You'll come to realize that marrying me would have been the right choice. By the time you regret it, it'll be too late. After speaking, he stood up and looked at Marquis Jingyuan. Father, I have consulted someone to choose a date. 1 month from now, when Bauer is 1 month old, it will be an auspicious day. I plan to welcome Ruenyang into the household then. The Marquise slammed the table. Impossible. The Marquis of Jingyuan's household will absolutely not welcome a courtesan from a brothel. That's right. Ruenyang is a courtesan from the 100 Flowers Pavilion. In his previous life, Xiao Qian fell in love with her at first sight in the brothel and pledged his life to her. Because of the rumors, he couldn't bring Ruenyang into the household, but he placed all the blame and anger on me. In this life, everything has changed. Now that I have married Xiao Qifeng, I want to see how he plans to bring his Ruenyang into the household without my interference. Xiao Qian said stubbornly, Ruenyang has borne me a son. I cannot let the flesh and blood of the Xiao family be left adrift. Ruenyang knelt with the child in her arms, staring only at me. Madam, everyone says you are dignified and magnanimous. I only ask that you grant me and Bauer a place to stay. Now that the Marquis's household is surely under your care as the mistress, I beg you to let us mother and son enter the estate. I beg you. She did not beg the Marchioness, but knelt before me instead. I covered my chest, looking frightened as I turned to my mother-in-law. Mother, today is only my first day entering the household. How dare I make such a decision? I beg for your understanding. Daughter-in-law only listens to you. I then looked at Ruenyang. Ruenyang, I am merely a newlywed who has just entered the Marquis's household. You see the Marquis and the Marchioness, yet you do not beg them, you beg me. Are you not deliberately making things difficult for me? I got married yesterday, and you just happened to give birth yesterday, turning the Marquis residence upside down. Today, I'm serving tea and paying respects to the elders of the Xiao family, and before I've even been formally introduced to everyone. You're kneeling here trying to make things difficult for me, a new bride, by demanding that I let you into the household. What kind of grudge do you hold against me? Why are you making things hard for me at every turn? The person you should be asking is the future wife of the Marquis' eldest son, not me. We are merely sisters-in-law. The Marchioness slammed the table. Qian, let me tell you, out of consideration for her having borne you a child, I'll allow you to take her as a concubine. But if you think of making her your wife, our Jingyuan Marquis residence cannot afford to lose face like that. Don't even think about it. Moreover, when the main wife enters the household, her children must be raised by the legitimate mother. Ruenyang's tears fell like pearls. I beg for your mercy, madam. I only have Bauer as my child. I cannot give him to another woman to raise. Xiao Qian retorted. Mother, whom I marry is my own affair. Can I not even decide whom to marry? The Marchioness looked at him with disappointment in her eyes. If you are still the eldest son of the Marquis household, you cannot, if you wish to make your own decisions, unless you voluntarily leave the household and are no longer a member of the Jingyuan Marquis manor. Otherwise, your marriage, the position of the eldest daughter-in-law of the Jingyuan Marquis manor, can absolutely not be her. Rui Niang collapsed sobbing into Xiao Qian's arms. Madam, I did not willingly fall into the brothel. I was sold there to pay for my mother's medical treatment. When I followed Xiao Lang, I was still a pure courtesan. I am clean and innocent. The Marchioness looked at her. No matter how you ended up in the brothel, in the eyes of the world, you are a brothel woman. Whether you were a pure courtesan or not, no one cares. Qian, do you really think that if she becomes your official wife, any of the noble ladies in the capital would invite her to their gatherings? Who would be willing to sit at the same table as a brothel woman? It would be degrading, and it would mean that the Jingyuan mansion would no longer be welcome in the circles of the capital's elite. Is that what you want? You're acting recklessly, disregarding the future of the marquisate. Your father and I cannot do the same. If you insist on marrying her, then you must leave the mansion on your own accord. And we will act as if we never had a son. A smile touched the corners of my lips. Good, this time, I'd like to see how Xiao Qian would choose. As expected, Xiao Qian backed down. How could he easily give up the wealth and status of the Jingyuan Marquis manor? That night, the little maid I had placed in the main courtyard came to report that Xiao Qian and Ruanyang had argued as soon as they returned to their quarters. Ruanyang, having just given birth a day ago and utterly exhausted, wept. Xiao Lang, you promised to marry me as your principal wife, to make me the future lady of the manor, but now, your mother says I must be a concubine. Does that mean our child will be born a bastard? Xiao Qian gently coaxed her. Don't worry, I would never treat you unfairly. This is just a title. Even if my mother arranges for me to marry some woman, she would merely be a decoration. No one could ever surpass you. You are the one who holds the dearest place in my heart. Ruanyang, with reddened eyes, sobbed. Really, swear to me that you won't touch another woman, that you'll love only me for the rest of your life. Xiao Qian laughed and said, you are the mother of my child. How could I bear to see you sad or heartbroken? I laughed out loud upon hearing the maid's retelling. My husband looked at me and said, they are so troubled, yet you seem quite pleased, my lady. I snorted coldly. Of course I'm pleased. They wanted to shame me, to make me suffer in silence. Dream on. When we return to my family in 3 days, I'll ask my mother to help find your elder brother a truly suitable wife. The incident at Jingyuan Marquis Manor had caused such a stir that everyone in the capital knew about Xiao Qian's scandal over an unofficial concubine, which even cost him his position as heir. Naturally, noble families were unwilling to marry their daughters into such a situation. Who would want their daughter to enter a household where the husband not only has a favored concubine but also an illegitimate eldest son? However, just because the ladies in the capital are unwilling doesn't mean that families from outside the capital feel the same. It so happened that General Hu Wei had returned to the capital to report on his duties, bringing his wife and daughter with him. His legitimate daughter, Liu Rushuang, was exceptionally courageous and skilled with a spear. The general had kept her unmarried until now precisely because he wished for her to marry into a capital family, sparing her the hardships of the borderlands. My mother's close friend, the lady of Ningguo Manor, hosted a tea party, inviting both General Hu Wei's wife and daughter, as well as the Jingyuan Marquis's household. Liu Rushuang and I were seated at the same table. I took her hand and said, you are so beautiful, sister. Seeing you feels as though I've known you for a long time, like the warmth of family. Could this be fate? I led her by the hand to my mother-in-law and said, Mother, don't you think Miss Liu and I look like sisters? If she could become part of our family, that would be wonderful. The mother-in-law was extremely pleased to see Liu Rushuang and happily chatted with General Hu Wei's wife, becoming as close as sisters by the end of the banquet. The two ladies hit it off immediately. One admired the general's daughter for her straightforward nature, which made her less likely to be bullied, while the other valued the prestigious status of the Jingyuan Marquis's household, where she would become the eldest daughter-in-law upon marriage. The two families exchanged betrothal letters, sent betrothal gifts, and swiftly completed all the wedding procedures, soon setting the wedding date for 2 months later. Soon, it was time for Bao's full moon celebration, and Xiao Qian insisted on combining it with the joyous banquet for welcoming Ruanyang into the household. Rui Niang finally made it through her postpartum confinement and went out with her maids and servants to shop for items for the full-month banquet. At the brocade pavilion, she unexpectedly ran into Liu Rushuang. Rui Niang sat in the flower hall sipping tea while her maid arrogantly ordered the shop assistant around. Our mistress wants fully embroidered bright red wedding dresses. Hurry up and bring a few for her to see. As long as they're beautiful, the cost doesn't matter. The shop assistant, seeing a big spender, eagerly called for people to bring over the bright red wedding dresses. I was accompanying Liu Rushuang to pick out items for her wedding. Since she had come from the border region and hadn't prepared these dowry items in advance, she needed to buy ready-made clothes in the capital. Just as she had picked one out and was about to try it on, the shop assistant took the wedding dress and said a noble lady had taken a liking to it. Liu Rushuang, true to her fiery temper as a general's daughter, slammed the table. Who dares to compete with me for this? Ruanyang snorted coldly in the flower hall. I am the first wife of the Jingyuan Marquis Manor. Who do you think you are, daring to fight me for the wedding dress? Liu Rushuang's face turned cold as she lifted the curtain and stepped inside. The first wife of the Jingyuan Marquis Manor, Xiao Qian's wife. Didn't Xiao Qian just get engaged? I've never heard of you. Ruanyang raised her chin. Engaged? My husband said that no matter who he marries as the first wife, she's just a decoration. I will always be the one he loves most in his heart. Let that official wife have the title if she wants. In my eyes, she's nothing. My husband said he will love only me for the rest of his life. What does it matter if she is from a noble family? I am the one who gave birth to the eldest grandson of the Marquis household. Besides, who are you anyway? What does it matter to you whom my husband marries? After saying that, she handed the wedding dress to the shop assistant. I'll take this one, put it on the account, and go to the Jingyuan Marquis residence to collect the payment. Liu Rushuang stopped her. This is the wedding dress I chose. How dare you, a mere concubine, wear bright red? Is this the rule of the Jingyuan Marquis residence? Does Xiao Qian dare to favor a concubine over his wife? Is he not afraid of being impeached by the censors? If he dares to let a concubine enter his household wearing a bright red wedding dress, what will become of the Liu family's standing? Ruanyang raised her head. The Liu family is nothing more than a military household, utterly uncouth. They should be grateful to marry their daughter into the Marquis residence. What more could they want? My husband said I can wear whatever I please. I stood up and walked in. Ruanyang, don't be presumptuous. As a concubine, how can you buy a bright red wedding dress? This lady Liu Rushuang is the legitimate daughter of General Liu's family. Once she enters the household, she will be like a sister to you. As a concubine, you should respect the future mistress. Put down the wedding dress at once. Ruanyang was startled and stood up. Lady Liu, I'm sorry. I only came to buy a wedding dress. Please take pity on me. I'm all alone and come from a poor background. I know I can't compare to a young lady from a noble family, but I just wanted to be a proper bride for once. To wear a bright red wedding dress when I marry, is that too much to ask? Amid the commotion, Xiao Qian walked in. Seeing Ruanyang's reddened eyes, he couldn't help but ask. What's going on here? Ruanyang threw herself into his arms. Husband, I just want to wear the bright red wedding dress once, to be your proper, lawful wife for a day. Is that too much to ask? I know I'll be a concubine in the future, but being sold into the brothel wasn't my choice. I was pure when I was with you. Can't I just wear the red wedding dress once? Is that not allowed? Xiao Qian comforted her tenderly. Who said it's not allowed? I say it is. Let's buy this one, the most expensive and beautiful. I pretended to advise from the side. Miss Liu also had her eye on this dress earlier and plans to wear it for her wedding. Ruanyang is only a concubine, how can she overstep her position? Xiao Qian had just noticed Liu Rushuang and me standing aside. His face showed a moment of panic before he frowned and said, It's just a wedding dress. Why make such a fuss? Miss Liu, Ruanyang is not entering the household at the same time as you. Besides, no matter what color wedding dress she wears, she is merely a concubine and cannot compete with you. Why must you be so petty? Slap. Liu Rushuang struck Xiao Qian with lightning speed. A man like you is truly disgusting. You already have an illegitimate eldest son before even getting married, spoiling your concubine and neglecting your wife. Now, in front of me, you suggest letting a concubine enter the household in a bright red wedding dress. Do you think the Liu family is full of dead people? This marriage alliance might as well be called off. After saying this, she turned and left, decisive and resolute. The incident where Ruanyang and Liu Rushuang had a huge argument over a wedding dress at Jinxiu Pavilion quickly spread. Upon returning to the general's residence, Liu Rushuang cried and made a scene, demanding to break off the engagement. Upon receiving the news, mother-in-law was furious. As Ruanyang and Xiao Qian had just entered the residence, mother-in-law glared at Ruanyang and roared, You wretch, kneel down at once. You, a mere concubine, dare to buy a wedding dress meant for the principal wife, and even dare to argue with the future mistress in public? Who gave you the nerve? Ruenyang knelt in the middle of the courtyard, not daring to say a word. I quickly tried to calm the situation, saying, Mother, Ruenyang has just given birth to the eldest grandson of the Marquis household. Please calm your anger. My mother-in-law grew even angrier. Giving birth to a bastard eldest son is the root of family disaster. It's precisely because of this that people look down on the Marquis household even more. Ruenyang, do you think you're something special just because you've born a son? Let me tell you. Our Marquis household isn't lacking in heirs. How dare you become so arrogant just from giving birth to a bastard son? Guards, seize her and administer 10 strokes of the rod. Let's see if she learns her lesson and dares to argue with the mistress again next time. I quickly tried to calm my mother-in-law. Mother, Ru Shuang is indeed very angry, but she's just being childish. Her temper comes and goes quickly. Why not have Ruenyang personally go to the Liu family to apologize? She might then let go of her anger, and this marriage arrangement could still proceed. Ruenyang screamed, I won't go. She can forget about me apologizing. Madam, you have such a vicious heart, you just want to see me humiliated. As the future mistress of the household, she cannot even tolerate her husband's concubines. Where is the dignity of a lady? Such a jealous woman, her husband could very well divorce her. I watched her digging her own grave. Angering my mother-in-law to the point of turning pale, I pretended to be wronged and said, Mother, I happened to have a chance to speak with Miss Liu, and out of kindness, I advised Ruenyang to apologize. I never expected she would think of me this way. It seems I overstepped. My mother-in-law patted my hand comfortingly and said, I know you are sensible. Don't bother arguing with a lowly servant like her. Then she coldly glared at Ruenyang and said, if you refuse to apologize, so be it. After all, you haven't been officially recognized. Leave the mansion tomorrow. Our Marquis's household has no place for someone like you. Ruenyang finally went to the Liu family to apologize, kneeling in front of their gate for an entire day. By the time Liu Rushuang came out to see her, Ruenyang's face had already turned blue from the cold. Liu Rushuang stood before her and sneered, Ruenyang, who do you think you are? Let me tell you. The tricks of a brothel woman like you are nothing in the eyes of a noble lady. Your lowly birth makes you nothing. How dare you compete with me? Remember this, I will marry into the Marquis's household and become your mistress. You will always kneel before me and honor me as your superior. Oh, and one more thing, I've already sent someone to the Marquis's residence to say that after I marry in, I will personally raise your son. After all, I am his legal mother. Don't worry. I will treat him well and make sure he calls me mother. Ruenyang's eyes turned crimson with rage. How dare you? He is my son. Liu Rushuang smiled. It is only natural for the principal wife to educate the children of the household. Besides, given your background from a brothel, if word got out that you were raising the heir, the Marquis's reputation would be ruined. Now, the Marchioness of Jingyuan has already agreed. In a few days, I will marry into the Marquis's household. By then, your son will become mine. When I have children of my own in the future, I will make your son serve them like a beast of burden. What can you do about it? Ruenyang returned to the Marquis's residence with a face ashen with despair. That night, she wept to Xiao Qian, that Liu Rushuang is a vicious woman. You must not let her take my son away. Xiao Qian laughed. She's just talking nonsense. Bao is the eldest grandson of the Marquis's household. How would she dare lay a hand on him? Although her future children will be the legitimate heirs, Bao, despite being a concubine's son, is still my child. I will never treat him unfairly. He kept referring to the illegitimate son and the legitimate son, deeply wounding Ruenyang's heart. I watched Ruenyang, restless and distracted, sitting in the backyard every day, holding Bao in a daze. Xiao Qian, busy with his wedding preparations, hadn't had time to comfort her for days. I couldn't help but smile. In the previous life, their love was as deep as the sea, but now everything had changed. Because of Ruenyang, Xiao Qian had lost his position as the heir, and he was now trying to rely on his wife's family to secure more benefits for himself. My mother-in-law and father-in-law even handed over the family heirloom, originally meant for the eldest son and his wife, directly to me and Qifeng. The future of the Marquisate rests on you too. This family heirloom, of course, should be given to you. When Xiao Qian found out, he was so angry his eyes turned red. Seeing Ruenyang crying and sobbing in her room every day only added to his regret. For her sake, he had lost his position as the heir and the chance to marry a noblewoman from a prestigious family. One wrong step had led to a series of mistakes. On the day Xiao Qian was to be married, just as Liu Rushuang and he were about to drink the ceremonial wedding wine, A maid came to report, "Young master." Concubine Rui says that young master Bauer has a fever and has been crying non-stop. "Would you like to go and see him?" Liu Rushuang slammed her cup down. "Is my husband a physician? Tell concubine Rui to cut out these boring attention-seeking tricks. If the child is sick, call a doctor. What use is it to look for my husband?" When concubine Rui heard that Xiao Qian refused to come see her and Bauer, she was so angry that she stripped Bauer's clothes and left him exposed to the cold wind. Muttering, "Bauer, your father is heartless and won't come see us. Only if you get seriously ill will he come." In the middle of the night, Bauer developed a high fever. Concubine Rui carried him and went to knock on the door of Xiao Qian's courtyard, but she was immediately silenced and driven away by Liu Rushuang's personal maid. "Today is the mistress's wedding night. How dare you, a mere concubine, cause trouble here? Someone, slap her mouth." Rui Niang returned to the courtyard with a swollen face, holding Bauer and crying incessantly. When the servant came to report, her mother-in-law rushed over with a doctor, only to find that Bauer was already burning up and beginning to convulse. Rui Niang was still sobbing. "My husband is so cruel. Bauer is truly ill. I slapped her across the face, for the sake of a man. You would even harm your own son, you vicious woman." The doctor quickly took the pulse and prescribed medicine. "Young master son's fever is too severe. He is still too young. Whether he can even take the medicine is one thing. If it doesn't subside by dawn, I'm afraid." Rui Niang collapsed to the ground, crying out in despair, "Bauer, what's wrong? Mother didn't mean to do this." When morning came, Xiao Qian and Liu Rushuang awoke to the sound of crying outside. A servant came to report, "Young master, the little young master, passed away last night." By the time Xiao Qian arrived, Ruanyang was clutching Bear's lifeless little body tightly, murmuring, "Mother didn't mean to. Mother just wanted you to be your father's legitimate eldest son." She had gone mad. After Bear was buried, Ruanyang disappeared. No matter how they searched, there was no trace of her. From then on, there was no longer anyone named Ruanyang in the Jingyuan Marquis residence, after Xiao Qian got married. Liu Rushuang had not borne any children. The physician, upon checking his pulse, discovered that there was an issue with Xiao Qian's body. He was unable to have children. Xiao Qian exclaimed, "How is this possible? How could I be unable to have children? Rui Niang even gave birth to a son for me." A maid found a packet of powder in Rui Niang's room. It was a medicine to prevent conception. "I suspect that after Bauer's death, in her last moment of clarity, Rui Niang administered the medicine to Xiao Qian." Without a word, Liu Rushuang divorced him on the grounds of his inability to have children. Xiao Qian sat alone in the courtyard, muttering to himself, "How did this happen? I am the heir, with a bright future ahead of me. How did it come to this? Xiao Qian has gone mad." To cover up the family disgrace, the Xiao family sent him to the ancestral temple, assigning 2 elderly servants to attend to him until the end of his days. "As for my husband and I, we inherited the Jingyuan Marquisate. I caress the child in my womb, knowing that the Jingyuan Marquisate will one day belong to my son."